Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to have a little fun with our practice. We're going to be doing some strings of poses, or you could think of it like a mini sequence, just 2 or 3 poses that we're going to link together and go back and forth between those postures. We'll do several of these little strings throughout the practice, and this is good for practicing those transitions between poses for your yoga practice. It's also good just in general, strengthen the body. It's also good for just everyday life, thinking about when you go from sitting to standing or other movement transitions you make, being experienced with those and having a good ingrained movement pattern can be really helpful. So as usual, find any props you want to use. I've got 1 block. If you have 2 blocks, go ahead and grab both of those. If you're going to use a blanket for seated postures or knee padding, find that. Once you've got everything you need, come back to your mat and we'll get started. So let's start out in reclined today. We'll just come to your back and we're going to do a little warm up for the hips and the core. So reclined with the knees bent, and just take a second to settle in. Noticing the back of the body, sacrum, scapula, and skull, back of the head. And notice the feet here. Feet are a few inches away from the hips. Feet are hip width apart. And let's go ahead and start by lifting the tailbone. Press into the soles of the feet to lift the hips. Coming up into a low bridge. And we'll just hold here for a moment. And slowly as we exhale, we'll let the hips come back down. And let's do that one more time. So when you're ready, you can exhale to lift the hips, come back up into that low bridge, and bring your attention to the hips, to the glute muscles. And if you're not feeling those working here, think about reaching your tailbone toward the backs of your knees, going into a little bit of posterior tilt. If you're still not feeling the glutes working very much, maybe try drawing the knees toward each other a little bit. And slowly start to release. Bring the hips down to the mat, and we'll get in a little warm up for the core. So let's bring our hands behind the head, interlacing the fingers. Go ahead and lift the elbows up so they're pointing toward the ceiling. Take a second to notice your rib cage here. And as you're exhaling, think about left and right sides of the rib cage drawing in toward each other and pulling down into the body, the front ribs. And with your next exhalation, start to lift the head, lift the shoulders away from the mat. Think about pushing the back of your head into your hands so that we're not using the front of the neck too much. So just holding here in this crunch for another breath. And then inhale to release down. And we'll build on that a little bit. So as you exhale, come back up into your crunch, lifting the shoulder blades away from the mat, back of the head kind of pushes back into the hands. Let's lift our right leg. And I'm not going to mirror for this since we're going from the side, but lift your right leg, just extend it out, straightening the knee, and then we'll inhale to come back down. So you can release the foot down, release the head down. We'll do that on the other side, so exhaling to lift back up. And once you come up in that crunch, start to extend the left leg out. Inhale to come back down. Again, as you exhale, lift. Going back to the first side, so extend your right leg out. We're going to add a little twist this time, so reach that left arm out to the outside of your right knee. And see if you can reach a little further, get that both shoulder blades off the mat. And then inhale to come back down. And one more, so going back to the second side, exhaling to lift up. Extend your left leg straight. Reach your right arm out across to the outside of your knee. See if you can lift a little bit higher. Get both shoulder blades off the mat. And then inhale to come back down. And just release here, take a few breaths. All right, so from here we're going to come over to a tabletop, hands and knees position. And even though we're still going to be, I'm kind of facing toward the side, I'm going to go to mirroring just because that's how I'm used to teaching, and I know if I try to not mirror that I will get my left and right confused even more than usual. So come into your tabletop position, flat back. And again, just like we did at the very start, notice those 3 points on your back, your sacrum, your scapula, the back of your head, and line those up. Notice the shoulder blades here, find a neutral position, and a little bit of depression of the scapula, so drawing them toward the hips, and a little bit of protraction, so opening up that space in between the shoulder blades by pressing the floor away. Do both of those actions, depression and protraction, just a little bit. You don't have to go into the full end range of those motions, but creating them a little bit. So from here, let's start with the bird dog. So just sending that right leg back, reaching the left hand forward, and then you can start to float the right foot up. Next, exhale, hand and knee, come back down to the mat. And let's do that on the other side. Send that left leg back, reach the right hand forward, and you can start to float the left foot up. As we exhale, we can bring the hand and knee back to the mat. All right, and let's go through a couple rounds of cat and cow next. So just flow with your breath here, and exhale to round through the spine, and inhale to extend it. And start to find your way back to center, finding that flat back with those shoulder blades in a good strong position. And we're going to do our first little mini sequence. So we're going to be alternating between facing out toward the left and right side for this one. So to start, let's just shift our left hand toward the middle of the mat a little bit, setting up for a kneeling side plank. So that left hand comes toward the middle, and we're going to open up toward the right side of your mat. So extending that right leg straight, lifting the right arm up for a kneeling side plank. So as we exhale to come back through, we're going to bring our right forearm down to the mat. And we're going to bring that right knee in, and then we can lift the left leg up and extend it out. And we're just going to do that a few more times. So bringing that left knee back to the mat, open up toward the right for kneeling side plank. So you can even just keep that left hand planted where it is. And then coming back through, plant your right forearm, right knee comes in, extend left leg out. Let's do that a couple more times. So opening up for that kneeling side plank. And then flowing through for this forearm with leg extension. One more time. coming back to center, and we'll do that on the other side. Same moves, just flipping sides. So you can start by bringing that right hand toward the middle a little bit, and we're simply going to extend the left leg straight, lift the left arm up to open up into kneeling side plank. One more breath here. And then we'll start that little mini sequence. So exhaling, left forearm across the mat, knee comes down, right leg extends out. And then just move back and forth between those a few times. So you can find that kneeling side plank, and then open up the other way, extend the right leg out. And feel free to add little variations here if you want. For the side plank, you could choose to lift that left leg up. Let's do one more of each. All right, so coming back to center, back to tabletop. Take a few breaths here, move in any way that you like. If you want to move into cat pose or cow pose or just kind of flow between those, you can do that. All right, so coming back to center, and we're gonna move toward down dog, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently today. So start by tucking your toes under, if they're not already. Wrist under the shoulders, shoulders in that strong position. We're going to find a floating tabletop to start. So press into the palms, press into the toes, lift your knees. And then lift the knees a little higher. And then just start to sink the hips toward the heels. So kind of like we're in a really low down dog with the knees deeply bent. And then from here, you can start to lift the hips higher. Don't worry if you completely straighten the knees or not, doesn't really matter. And then if you need to adjust your stance here, do that. If you need to lengthen it a little bit, you can. Couple breaths here. And as we inhale, let's start to walk our feet toward the hands. Keep some length in the spine as you make your way to your forward fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to. And next inhalation, come all the way up to standing. As you come up, lift the heart, reach up. Bring the palms together. And exhale, hands to the heart. Take a breath here. And we'll inhale, reach up again. Exhale, forward fold. So we're hinging at the hips, keeping some length in the spine. Bend the knees as much as you need to for this. And getting the hands to the mat, we're going to step the right foot back. Keep the right knee lifted as we come into this low lunge. Find that length from your right heel all the way up and out through the crown of your head. Remember, you can use blocks under the hands. And then from here, we're just going to step forward again. So right foot steps up, comes under the hip, long spine here. Lift a little bit if you need to, maybe finding more of that half fold position. And then step your left foot back as you exhale. So same thing here, just finding that really long spine and extending that length out through your left heel. Notice the shoulders here, just make sure they're staying in a good strong position down away from the ears. And again, as we inhale, we're going to step that left foot up, back to our forward fold, keeping the spine really long. So we're going to do this a little faster, a couple more rounds. So just stepping that right foot back to a lunge, and then stepping forward, stepping the left foot back, and then stepping forward. So just continue alternating. Remember, you can use your blocks here or any other prop that you want to use, maybe even hands in a chair, might be a good way to do this. One more each side, finishing with the left. Coming back to that forward fold, and this time as we inhale, we'll come all the way up. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Take a breath here. And we'll inhale, reach up again. Exhale, forward fold. You can come all the way down this time. From here, we'll bend the knees, plant the hands, step the right foot back to a low lunge. And this time, we're gonna come into warrior two. If you got blocks, have those nearby. So we're gonna come all the way up to standing and cartwheel the arms up. So left knee is bent, right leg is straight. Warrior two. And let's go through some of our basic movements that flow from here. So we'll turn that left palm up. Inhale to reach up and overhead, reverse. And then exhale to side angle, left forearm across the thigh, right arm, reaching up and over if that feels okay for your shoulder. And as we come back up and inhale, let's straighten that left knee. Inhale, left arm up and over. And this time as we exhale, coming back to center, we'll find some length, take a breath in, and then exhale to move into triangle pose. So left hand reaches forward, right hip reaches back. That left hand can find your leg or a block. All right, so here's where we can have some fun. We're gonna move straight from this triangle pose toward our half moon pose. So I've got my hand on a block. That's really helpful for me. We're gonna take our eye gaze forward. We're gonna start to bend into that left knee. You can take that left hand in front of your foot. And shifting forward, step up the right foot a little bit if you need to. And then if it feels okay, maybe lifting that right leg up. You can always do half moon pose with your back against a wall. And we'll start to come back to warrior two. So you can bend that left knee and just come back up. All right, and let's release the hands to the hips for a second. Take a breath. All right, so we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna incorporate half moon, but we're gonna have a little extra fun with it. So let's come back to warrior two and move towards your half moon pose. So reaching forward, reaching down to find that block, shifting forward, maybe lifting that right foot for half moon. And then from here, we're gonna keep that right foot lifted, but we're gonna square the hips toward the ground, so kind of a warrior three position. And then we're gonna come up to high knee. So just lifting that right knee up. And then we're gonna reverse through those steps. So sending that right leg back, warrior three. Plant that left hand, and then open the hips toward the right for half moon. Let's do that one more time. So warrior three, high knee, and then back through warrior three, half moon, and back to warrior two. All right, so you can release the hands down, you can straighten that left knee, take a breath. All right, so let's bend that knee one more time, warrior two, and we're gonna cartwheel the hands back down. So sweeping that right arm up and then down. Come back to low lunge, right foot steps forward. Forward fold. And then left foot steps back. Setting up for warrior two. So when you're ready, you can come upright into warrior two. And we'll turn that right palm up. Inhale to reach up and overhead, reverse. And exhaling, warrior two, flow into side angle. Right forearm across the thigh, left arm up. And if it feels okay on the shoulder, left arm can come overhead. Exhale to come back up. Straighten the right knee. Inhale, right arm up and overhead. Exhale to come to warrior two. Keep the knee straight. Find length in your spine. And exhale to reach forward, coming into triangle pose. So right hand can come down to your leg or to a block, and we know where we're going from here, so we will be moving to half moon pose in a couple breaths. So if you're going to use a block, you can go ahead and find it. So starting to take that eye gaze forward. Bring your right hand in front of your leg, bend your knee if you need to. You almost certainly will need to, a little bit at least. And then shift forward, lift into half moon. And slowly coming back to warrior two. And then we'll go through that little string of poses a few times. So from your warrior two, when you're ready, come back to half moon. Use the wall if you want to. Warrior three, square the hips, keep the spine long, reach out through that left heel. From warrior three, high knee, so hinging upright, mountain pose in the spine, and then reversing. Back to warrior three, from there to half moon. Go through it one more time. So after that last half moon, go back to warrior two. And again, once you're there, you can just release the hands down, straighten that right knee, take a breath. All right, and then warrior two, we'll turn that left palm up behind us, cartwheel that arm, that hand back down to the top of the mat. Step forward to your forward fold. And let's pause here for a moment. If you want to move into that ragdoll variation where we just kind of hang down, you can do that if it feels good for you. And you can start to root into the feet. Slowly inhale to come all the way up. Lifting the heart, reaching up, maybe finding a little back bend. You can bring the palms together and to exhale the hands to the heart. Take a breath here. Next inhalation, let's reach up again. We'll exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step both feet back, plank. And then from plank, exhale to lift the hips, shift back into down dog. Let's take a couple more deep breaths here. And as we exhale, let's lower the knees to the mat. And we'll come back over to seated. And we'll move into a couple seated postures, a couple twists to start to finish up. I'm going to turn to face toward the long edge of the mat. You can stay facing toward the short edge if you prefer. We're going to be moving into half Lord of the Fishes pose. So let's start with the knees bent, soles of the feet on the ground. We're going to take our left heel back across the hips and let that knee come toward the ground. Right foot can slide toward the inside of your knee, or provided your right sit bone can stay connected to the ground, you can move that foot to the outside. So if you do that and your hip is floating above the ground, then you have some options. You can either bring that foot back into the inside of your knee, or you can extend the left leg straight. So whichever one works best for you. From here, let's take a big breath in, reach up, and then exhale to turn to the right. Right hand behind us, and left arm can do whatever feels good here. And just extend it out across the top of your leg. You can wrap your elbow around and hug the leg in. And as always with these spinal twists, we want to keep the spine aligned. So thinking of that straight line going up along the back. And then we want to notice where we're twisting in the spine. We want to try to find a little bit of twist at each part. Often we tend to over twist the neck to create the sensation of more twist. And we do just as well to share that twist with the rest of the spine. So we'll take a few more breaths. Slowly as we inhale, we can start to unwind and uncross the legs. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So taking that right heel back across the hips, left foot comes either to the inside of your knee or to the outside. And again, if neither of those works great for you, you also have the option to extend that right leg straight out. So from here, inhale, reach up, aligning along the back, straight line, and then exhale to turn to the left, keeping that straight line in your spine. And we'll take some deep breaths. Take one more breath. And slowly as you inhale, unwind. Come back to center, uncross the legs. And let's make our way to reclined. So come onto your back again. And let's hug our right knee into the chest. And extend that left leg out straight. Bring a little bit of movement to the right foot. And let's find one more twist here. So bringing that knee across your body, rolling onto your left hip. And reach that right arm out to the side. And take your eye gaze to the right if that feels good. Slowly as we inhale, let's come back to center. And extend that right leg out. And bring the left knee in. And just hug it in toward the body for a few breaths. Maybe move the foot and the ankle a little bit. And we start to bring that knee across the body, coming into a twist, so rolling onto your right hip. And extend that left arm out. Take your eye gaze to the left if that feels good. And we'll take a few breaths here. Slowly as you inhale, you can come back to center. And from here, let's bring both knees up toward the chest. Move into happy baby pose. And exhale to draw the knees into the chest one more time. If it feels good for you, you can lift the head and bring the nose toward the knees. And as we exhale, we'll release, lower the legs all the way down to the mat. And we've arrived at our final relaxation pose, Shavasana. So we're going to take these last few minutes of the practice just to relax and breathe. And I'll be quiet for about 3 or 4 minutes. And as always with these videos, if you want to take a longer Shavasana, then feel free to pause it here. And over the next few breaths, you can start to bring your attention back to your mat, back to your room. You can deepen your breath. Start to bring some movement back to your body. Whenever you're ready, you can roll to one side. And from there, you can make your way back to seated. All right, well, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.